To the September meeting of the Athens, Ohio Environment and Sustainability Commission. I think we have the entire commission present, unless I'm forgetting someone. It's good to see you all, to see most of you, and to know that you're all here. This is being recorded, and we do have two guests, Jeremy Simpson and Lauren Connor, at this point. We may have other guests. Professor Amy Lynch had offered her students the opportunity to attend this meeting, and so we may get some other student folks attending tonight. Since we do have some guests, let's start by introducing ourselves. I am Amy Delac. I'm the chair of the commission, and I've been in Athens about 3 years. I work for a conservation nonprofit based in DC, and I'm going to do something I didn't warn anybody about. Very lately, a number of the meetings that I've been have been starting with a Native and Indigenous land acknowledgement, and I'm going to just take the opportunity and stage to do that right now. I think all of us are coming from lands that were formerly occupied by the mound building cultures that we know as the Adena and the foreign ancient cultures, and then later the Shawnee and Osage people. Thanks. I'll go to Paul next.
Hi, everybody. Paul Logue. I'm the planner for the City of Athens, a member of the Sustainability Commission, and a minute taker, so I might be on mute for a while.
I'm going to go to Herb Green next.
How you doing, everybody? I'm Ed Newman. I'm a West Sider in town, and glad to be here with y'all.
Sarah.
Hi, everyone. Sarah Conley-Ballou. Commission member, and I live in Athens County.
Sam.
Hi, everybody. Sam Crowell, Athens City Council, 3rd Ward representative and member of the commission. I'm also the Associate Director of Sustainability at Ohio University. Nice to see everybody.
Elaine.
Hi, I'm a commission member and also the Director of Sustainability at Ohio University, and I live on the east side. Thanks.
Stefan.
Hi, Stefan Gleisberg. I'm a member of the commission and also work for various organizations here near and far concerning environmental issues like the Athens Conservancy and the Athens area birders.
Jasmine.
Hello, I'm Jasmine Fakoun. I am a resident of Millfield, a member of the Sustainability Commission, and currently I am the Bailey's Trail System Resource Assistant, and happy to be here.
Megan.
Hey everyone, I'm Megan Almeida. I am an Athens resident, part of the commission, and I am a team member at Rural Action for the Zero Waste Program.
Hey, Abby.
Hi everyone, I'm Abby Rajum. I am a 2nd year Masters of Environmental Studies student, so graduate student at OU, and I am the student member of the commission.
Okay, and I think we have one absence, which is Austin Babro. So I think we have quorum established, and we'll call to order. Again, we have two guests, Jeremy and Lauren. We cannot see or hear you because you're in guest mode, but if you do want to add a question to the chat, we should be able to see that. And with that, we'll go to the first item on our agenda, which is the disposition of the minutes. Paul sent the minutes from the August 6th meeting around, I think a couple weeks ago, and again early today. Do we have someone who can make a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
All right, thank you, Ed. A second?
I can second.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the minutes are disposed. Next order of business is establishing our next meeting date, which we have scheduled for October 7th of 2020. That is Rob's and my 25th anniversary, and I can assure you that we will be doing something other than sitting at our desks in our office. We planning to be up in the Adirondacks at the place where we got married 25 years ago near Lake Placid. So I'm happy to just miss that meeting. We'll have to have somebody else be commissioner for the day and chair for the day, or we can reschedule. Does anyone have any strong thoughts on that?
The only thought I have, Amy, is as a general rule, my preference is to keep meetings consistent. Sure. So that the public is aware of when meetings are. We do get into confusion sometimes when we move meetings that people were caught flat-footed or unaware. So that being said, I'll defer to the body of the commission.
And I should add, with Dr. Lynch's class being given the opportunity to attend these meetings and there being some interest in these meetings, I think we should probably keep it at the regular date for consistency. Again, it looks like we've added a few more attendees. Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm looking at the participants list. If you are listed as an attendee, you cannot speak or go on video, but we should be able to interact with you with a chat. And again, if you're from Dr. Lynch's class, a particular welcome to you folks. Thanks for being with us. So again, I would suggest that we should just stick with the original date. I assume it won't be too much of a difficulty to get quorum without me.
I'd be willing to be chairperson for the meeting to sit in and keep us on task.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. All right. So there's no other discussion on that. We will keep the next meeting date at October 7th, 2020, most likely the same government channel, same government station. And with that, we'll move into old business. So the student data collection, we had an update on that last time around. So for those folks who are attending, we have an Athens City Sustainability Plan, and we try to measure the various goals in that plan, measure our progress against those goals. And last semester, there was a set of students who helped us with the data collection on those metrics. And Paul gave us a presentation of that data and also a comparison of Athens to other cities of our size and similar type college towns. So I believe the assignment, at least according to the minutes, was that folks who are assigned to particular sections of the sustainability plan look at the data with respect to their sections, figure out whether there's more information that we need to collect and where we might move forward. And again, for folks who are guests, I believe that sustainability plan is online on the government channel. If not, it does have a number of different metrics for the city's environmental performance, including energy, waste, water, local food, local economy, greenhouse gases. Is there anything I'm missing? Oh, possibly biodiversity. We'll get to that later tonight. That's not one yet though. Any that I missed offhand? And did anybody follow up on their assignment to look into the data that the students presented and have anything to discuss with the group tonight?
I'll just say briefly, I skimmed through mine. Admittedly, I didn't take a deep dive into it, and I thought it looked pretty good, but I would like to double check before we finalize.
Okay, yeah, great.
I must have missed that presentation, and I don't know. I don't have that.
Was that actually in June? Because I know we had Jasmine's presentation in August. I believe we were sort of on summer break in July. So that presentation from the students may have been all the way back in June.
Yeah,
does anyone remember?
Let's double check our minutes that we just approved.
Well, it does say Paul shared the PowerPoint and we'll email it to all members. That was the August.
Yeah, so I gave the presentation last month. We still have it on, and it's archived, so we can. It's being recorded. All these meetings are all recorded and archived, so you can re-review it. You should have a copy of that presentation and the accompanying information in your inbox. If everybody would prefer, I'll resend it after this meeting.
Would you mind doing that?
That's fine.
Please?
That would be helpful.
Appreciate it.
No problem.
I think I get too many emails.
Yeah.
If it helps anybody find it, it was sent on the 5th, August 5th. So
Thanks, Abby.
And Paul, I was wondering if there was any additional information that the students sent, because for my sections, there is one of the 4 pieces of information there, but there's no information about where it came from. So I didn't know if they sent additional documentation for you. Okay.
I'll see what I can find. There might have been, Elaine. I know there is I saw at least one email. I think I forwarded it off, but I'll double check.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, thanks.
So, and I guess I should say for my section, which is the greenhouse gas emissions, it's always the last one to do, and I can't finish it until the other data is there. So, so it is incomplete. And once everybody else has verified their sections are okay, then I can finish that one off.
Okay, great. Did anyone else have reactions to their section that they want to share with the group, or should we pass that on again to business for October?
I can share that the energy section is missing some core data provided through our community aggregation program through SOPEC.
Okay.
I'm not sure to what extent the students attempted to get that data. But I think it is pretty central to accuracy on energy reporting. So is the goal for the commission to give students feedback and then for them to update this, or are we now kind of in charge of the data from here forward? And if I were to reach out to SOPEC and get the data, should I?
Yeah. My understanding was that this was sort of a set project from students who I think many were actually in their final semester. So they have graduated and gone off. So this is essentially what they handed off to us, and any additional information that we need is on us to collect. This was their attempt to assist us with our annual data collection. Is that correct, Paul?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
So I suppose similar to Elaine, it would be helpful to know where the sources of the current figures are so that I can determine what's missing, because it's definitely not a close comparative to previous numbers. So.
Okay. And Paul, it might be helpful to resend to everyone the link and instructions for accessing the box document, the box cloud that has all of the other files in it, because I think that has some of the previous data collection and things like that. And even I have trouble finding that box stuff. So it would be useful to make sure all commission members know how to access that. And Sarah, you may be able to find what you're looking for in that.
Yep.
Hey, Amy, I didn't hear this presentation. It must have been given before I joined, but I did get the email with the PowerPoint. And I don't think I was given a section. Should I assume that I'm in biodiversity, or do you guys need some eyes on some other section?
That's one thing we keep meaning to do, is make sure that all of the sections are covered, and because I know we've had some turnover. We would be certainly happy to have you part of the biodiversity group.
I can go somewhere else if that's covered.
Yeah, we might want to, because there aren't any metrics associated with biodiversity yet, because we haven't even officially adopted it as part of the plan. It's because it's a new section. We probably will need folks, to look at the metrics on some of the other sections.
Okay, just let me know where you're needed.
Okay, but let's make sure that we do that between now and next month. Is make sure that we can do it. I think via email is make sure everybody knows what sections of the plan they're kind of primarily responsible for. Like I think I'm on food technically, just because I didn't have a section and the food person left the commission, so I ended up on food. But that's if there's somebody else who's more interested in local food issues, that might be better for somebody else.
If we are assigning everyone, if we're each assuming a section, perhaps we can add to our agenda updates on a monthly basis to those sections, probably to keep us on task with the areas that we're each keeping an eye on. There may be months where someone doesn't have an update, but if we could dedicate a portion of our agenda to reviewing each of the items, I think that would really serve the public that we're...
Yeah, I think, that generally is an old business item, and it usually is, plan progress. I think it got morphed into student data collection over the last few months because we've had the students doing that project. But we can probably switch that back from student data collection to sustainability plan progress updates and have those be from each.
One comment on that, Amy. Since there's a lot of members who haven't been on the commission for a while, is that that's how we handled it for a while. And then basically every meeting we were spent talking about data collection for the plan because, and so we weren't actually moving forward with a lot of new business or anything. So I don't know if we want to discuss that in more detail, or I think Elaine at one point, the conversation was, we had a structure where we were going to focus like 2 meetings every year that were strictly on plan data, and then 1 meeting that was going to be on getting the update of the plan. And that way we had the other 8 or 9 meetings just to talk about new business, et cetera. But
I think we had a document that we probably should drag out of the box folder and circulate along with our assigned sections that talked about how we actually implement the plan. But I think Sarah maybe was not saying that we should focus every week on data collection, but on progress toward each section.
Gotcha.
Sarah, am I putting words in your mouth?
Yeah, no, that's kind of what I was picturing. And it may be that on a given month, we, aren't touching on every area of the plan. Certainly that might take more time than needed. And we do have some special topics to talk about, but maybe we put, maybe a 10 to 15 minute window where we briefly each give maybe one update and, some progress towards that. I know it does add responsibility to those of us dedicated to sections of the plan, but I think it might help us move the ball forward on some of the initiatives that help us reach the goals of the reductions.
And regarding the, do we want to wrap this up and then start on the next year at some point? I know we've been messing around with this one for a while. And my data is probably somewhat almost dated now.
Yeah, so I think the student group was essentially giving us data for compiling what they could for 2019, and before too long we're going to have to start on 2020. So and again, we were somewhat delayed this time around because we were waiting for that student data, and then we were waiting a little longer than we expected, which was I think COVID related and all that. So let's make sure that we all have access to the box folder and can look at the student information and can, figure out where those gaps are, and try to have sort of a complete write-up of, with the exception of greenhouse gases, a complete write-up of 2019 by next month. Okay, Elaine?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think we're actually 2 years behind. I think the students were getting data from fiscal year 18.
Oh, okay.
I don't think we've actually ever gotten data for fiscal year 19. So
okay,
we probably should.
Yeah, we probably should. And actually, I wonder if there's another student group that might be interested in looking at fiscal year 19. Maybe even some of the people who are on this call now.
You know, I wonder if we should ask Ryan Fote, who's our Sustainable Administration Hub Coordinator, who has the Climate and Sustainability Ambassadors, if the ambassadors, if any of them are interested, or we also could ask some classes. But yeah. Oh, do we have some notes? You do.
Another thing we might want to consider is within the report, they gave some examples of other communities' data collection methods, if I'm not mistaken. It is possible we want to look at some of the data that we're collecting and say we don't need to collect this data, or it's not a useful proxy as well. So if anybody has feedback on that, that should be something. If Sarah or Ed thinks we need different data points, we should talk about that at the next meeting or next couple meetings.
That's a good point.
That's a great point. Yeah, I'd like to think about that some more as well.
Okay. So moving on to the next item of old business, I did just send around last night the latest draft of the biodiversity plan. It's essentially a clean draft that incorporates all of the edits that I've gotten to date, except for a couple of comments that Austin sent me by email today, and they're both quite minor. So I don't know what the process is for officially adopting that as part of the city sustainability plan. Is that something that the council has to do? I think we said that the council has to add that, not the commission. I'm looking at you, Paul. You can't tell because it's all screen.
Oh, I thought I was on mute. I was trying to find my mute. I didn't want to start moving my mouth. Yeah, I believe so. I know the initial plan was adopted by city council. I think if nothing else, or maybe Sam has thoughts on that, or I'd defer to Sam, but it seems like as a courtesy, council at a minimum should be aware that the commission would like to add that section to the plan, and if they have any thoughts or concerns about that, we should double check with them. But
yeah, I'll just say that I wasn't on council when the sustainability plan was first written. I think the word aware is a good one. I feel like the experts in the room are in this room and not on council. And so sort of like the membership that we have, we do make recommendations to council, and council officially approves those members. And I think it would be a similar process. We'd want to make council aware, and clearly if council had any real concerns about something, they should speak up as any citizen should. But I think that that wouldn't be a major part of the process, basically, is that I think that we can make a recommendation and present it to council for their awareness.
Okay, great. So it would be a matter, I guess, of us deciding if it's ready for us to sort of officially adopt in the form that it's in. The one thing I have not yet done, again, I was just editing it last night, I've not yet put it in a short format that better matches the rest of the plan. And I think on that one, we will take just some of the real kind of solutions measures about, increased, pollinator lawns and pollinator habitat and chimney swift habitat, some of the real kind of more measurable ones. The way the plan's written, it has, an assessment component and a threat assessment component and things. I don't think any of that would go into the short version. It would be sort of a more measurable type things. And I can do that. I can do that between now and next month, is do sort of a short version of the plan. Oh, we've got a couple of things in the chat. Let me look at that. Okay. That was just Paul chatting with Jade. I should also add for any of the students from Dr. Lynch's class, I know I have sent her the biodiversity plan, and I will send her the updated copy of it so she can share it with any of you who might be interested. That way you don't have to try to give us your email addresses or anything like that on this panel. I will just go ahead and send that to Dr. Lynch. And I will also try to make sure that, actually, Paul, you've collected the full list of names of folks who are on as attendees? Okay. Thank you. Another item of old business, if nobody has anything else on biodiversity, would be the Athens West Side. Oh, go ahead, Elaine.
I just wanted to say that you did a fantastic job.
Thank you. Oh, go ahead. Thank you, Elaine. Thank you, Stefan.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add a related item to the biodiversity issue.
Okay.
You might remember that I was working on an iNaturalist platform for the city of Athens back earlier in the summer. And this has been online for a while, and I'm still trying to figure out how to more officially launch that thing and get it known by the residents of the city. So I may, have a little ask you for ideas maybe on that. I was thinking of sending it to neighborhood associations and maybe the newspapers. And I don't know beyond that where
Facebook, the neighborhood Facebook pages.
Mm-hmm.
Stefan, if you give me a rough draft press release, we can distribute that to the local media, cities, Facebook, so all that stuff. We can start pushing it out.
Oh, that's awesome. That would be easier. Since I'm not a Facebook person, so that would be great if I could just send you that. And if anybody wants to look over that, but I don't think we necessarily need to run it through the commission, since it's more like an ancillary byproduct of our biodiversity efforts.
And one other, on a related topic, I believe Chris Fall has introduced an ordinance or an update to city code that I think would make it, I'm looking at Sam because I'm hoping he has the details, that would essentially authorize or legalize having taller front lawns, that no association will have a height maximum on front lawns, and encouraging more pollinator plantings and native species plantings. Do I have that right, Sam?
You do. I believe we have been off for a couple of weeks, but I believe it was introduced at committee, but not full ordinance introduced to council for discussion and readings. But it looks great so far, and it is intended to do exactly what you say.
Okay. And that's, I was just looking, I know I saved it, but my Gmail is a mess. And I can't find it even searching on Chris's name with that. But if that's something that Chris would like an official recommendation from the Sustainability Commission for, as that moves forward, I'm sure that that's probably something that we can provide, and maybe something we can even share around and vote on at the October meeting.
I think I may have forwarded her drafts to everybody as an FYI, but I'll go back and check. But if not, I'll make sure everybody sees it.
I have seen it recently.
Yeah.
Okay, great. We do have the Westside Community Association collaboration on old business. Abby or Ed, did you have anything to add or update on that?
I have... Last meeting, Ed said he wanted to see the proposal, so I went through and cleaned it up and finished up our mini proposal. So the original proposal was a certain area. With COVID kind of knocking those plans back, we decided maybe we could do, Terry, Emily, and I decided maybe we could propose a smaller one. And so I wrote up, with the help of Emily, a smaller proposal, and it's kind of in a presentable first draft form, and that's what I sent to Ed. I don't know if there's been any update on the Westside Community Association having interest.
There was definitely interest. I think people want to engage with it. I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem.
Okay.
At some point, we got to get to the next step.
Yeah. And I'll just, as a reminder, I do have some small, about this tall butterfly weed and also red or swamp milkweed that I'm happy to donate to Arts West or any other entity that would like, or individual person who would like some milkweeds. I'd like to get those into the ground at somebody's house before winter. They are perennial, but they've been in pots for quite some time. Jasmine, I saw you raising your hands. I'll send you.
I threw down so much seed last year and nothing came up. I think it just didn't get cold enough.
Yeah, I kept mine chilled over the winter before I tried to germinate them. I will offline. I will give you my address and you can come by and pick up whatever you want anytime.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
You mean the winter we had in April and May didn't do it?
No.
Not quite. Unfortunately.
And there's one more piece of old business that I think got missed. Sarah had mentioned last month that she wanted to give an update on the City Planning Commission's progress on reviewing solar-friendly legislation drafted by the mayor, city planner, and council members Fall and Crowell.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that back up. The status of the changes to City Code of Ordinances to include a definition of solar energy systems, as well as some improved language around solar easements and solar setbacks, have gone through council as first review and then into the Planning Commission for consideration. Paul might be able to report on how Planning Commission's discussion went around that. Any update?
Sure. Oh, sorry, Sarah, didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, the City Council, the Planning Commission, they voted on it and forwarded up a recommendation to City Council 2 weeks ago. They have or almost 2 weeks ago. I believe the memo was sent up to Council either early this week or late. I think early this week. I think there's only one modification to what was submitted, or two modifications. One of which is that there was already language in Ohio Revised Code with respect to solar easements. And Sarah and I talked about that. And then there was a question from a Planning Commission member about essentially the language we recommended was to not calculate the height of a solar panel into a rooftop height requirement for flat roofs. And one of the planning commissioners asked, well, what about on a pitched roof? Would we calculate it then? And I said, based on the language, yeah. So they made a change to clarify that the height of if a rooftop solar panel on a pitched roof exceeded the height of the pitched roof, it would not be calculated into the maximum height of a building. So with those changes made, they recommended that City Council change the code. And so it's, I believe those are in the zoning code, Title 23, which means that a public hearing, planning commission will have to have a 30-day public notice, public hearing before they can officially legislate on it.
Okay.
But it's moving forward. So planning commission voted unanimously for it.
Great.
And once this does pass, this pass through City Council and new language has been approved, the city will then be able to apply for silver designation through the Soul Smart program. We currently have a bronze designation. So the goal is to get to silver designation and then someday to gold designation. So that's the goal.
Great. All right, thanks for those updates. Just as a matter of, I think on a pitched roof, they don't generally extend the solar panels up above the top eave of the roof because it's a wind issue. So that's maybe why it wasn't in the initial, because it in practical terms doesn't generally happen. But it's good to at least have it
Yeah, we assumed there was a reason why we didn't add it in there, but since nobody in the meeting actually had a reason, we said, well, just in case, let's clarify that. So
I think when the initial language was drafted, it came from examples where there are pretty significant additional language that some code of ordinances have around height restrictions. The city doesn't have quite the level of detail that some larger places and other cities have. So, not necessary if not necessary. So
got it. Yep.
Is gold the highest designation?
Yes, gold is the highest designation.
And I think we'd be one of the smallest cities to get silver if we got silver, correct?
I'll have to look into that. We were the first rural city in the Midwest to get Soul Smart Bronze designation, and in many ways, pretty vanguard that a small rural city in Appalachia would be willing and interested in Soul Smart. One of the biggest barriers to participating in Soul Smart is that many communities don't have zoning or building code at all, which, you can't really improve on something that doesn't exist. But there has been, I think there's over 300 designated Soul Smart communities in the country to date.
Cool. Okay, does anybody else have anything else on the Soul Smart, the City Council resolution? And does anyone have any other old business? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on to new business. And our first item is age-friendly Athens County. I don't know who that is, so someone take the floor. All right, Ham, great.
So I just really want to make the commission aware of an initiative that is being sort of organized, led by the Voinovich School regarding the age-friendly Athens County. And age-friendly initiatives have been around for about 14 years. It was launched by the World Health Organization to try to help cities prepare for our rapid aging, and then also urbanization that's going along with that aging. In the United States, the AARP is the sort of affiliate of the effort. And what really this effort does is basically conducts a community needs assessment and then develops an action evaluation plan based on the results of the assessment. And then it works towards the goals of the plan, really with aging in mind. And in the AARP, or the age-friendly sort of initiative, the Aging in Our Community initiative, focuses on 8 domains sort of internationally: outdoor spaces, transportation, housing, social participation, social inclusion, work and civic engagement, communication and information, community health services. And the efforts here in Athens County, this initially started as an Athens City initiative, and it has been expanded into the county, added a 9th domain, which is sustainability. So Jeff DeBelco and I are co-chairing the sustainability domain of this initiative, and I just wanted to let council know about this if they have not heard of it. And if anyone is interested in getting involved, they can contact me or Jeff. We are looking for experience experts, older folks who might have a more direct connection to some of the things that they are experiencing in terms of resiliency and sustainability. So there will be a 3rd chair. I believe that Jeff was connecting with Carol Cure to see if she might play in that role. I'm not sure he's gotten a response yet. But outside of the tri-chair, we will have a number of different people on that domain, and I wanted to make the commission aware of it. And if anyone is interested, please let me know, and I can include you in those meeting invites. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. And I'll just take the floor for a second to say that I think it's really interesting how much overlap there actually is between being an age-friendly community and being a sustainable community. And I would not have necessarily looked to the AARP for really progressive language on how to be a more sustainable community, but it turns out that they really do, because some of the things they're interested in are, aging in place or multi-generational family situations. So they're looking at things like accessory dwelling units, allowing those so that someone can have a quote unquote granny flat. And those are also the kinds of things that increase density, increase walkability, make housing more affordable, and combat sprawl, that sort of thing. And then, because a number of, in reality, one of the things that happens first as people age is they lose their ability to drive. So safe walking and safe even cycling and older folks using trikes even. I know someone who used a trike up until he was age 97. Those are things that are important for healthy older communities and also for sustainable communities, as well as things like, affordability of utilities and efficiency contributes to that and things like that. So Rob, who you may have seen walk behind me, who's passionate about cycling and transit friendly, and that's transit being another important aspect of that, is very interested in the age-friendly community stuff.
Is you could share?
Stefan, I'm sorry, you broke up in my hearing of that.
Now you're muted. Okay.
Am I muted? No,
No, you're back. Go ahead. Try again.
All right. No, I wanted to ask Sam if he has a short write-up where we could get a little bit more information about that initiative.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send it to everybody. I should note that Paul has been very involved in all of the preliminary planning, really, and I don't know if he's connected to any specific domain. He kind of, is helpful for all of them, I think, but he might be on the survey committee or something like that. But yes, I will pass around more information, Stefan.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm co-chair, since Sam mentioned it, co-chair of the Housing Committee. Shauna Bolin and I are the co-chairs, and I believe we've identified Barry Dilley as the older Athenian to help out. She's very passionate about housing issues in our community as well. And we do have them also helping out with the survey component. We just had a meeting this afternoon about how we want to deploy a survey and what type of questions we might want to include in there. AARP already has some standard survey documents that they've used that they do like to make sure that groups ask some of the same questions so that they have questions that they can compare from community to community and put into aggregate to better understand what's going on out there. But one of the things we'll need to do is identify through what Sam and Jeff are working on. Jeff's also on the survey committee. What kind of sustainability questions do we need to include? Some of the questions, I think, by default are kind of sustainability based, considering how our needs change as we're aging. Just like Amy said, transportation, of course, and housing issues, a lot of that relates to sustainability. It's a great process. There's a lot of people. It's a broad coalition across Athens County. It's got a lot of elected officials, county leaders, city administration, interested volunteers. It's got constituents. It's a really fun project so far, and it's been needed for probably a whole generation of seniors. Where this type of planning should have been done, and it's exciting to finally see that there's a broad coalition that wants to move forward with taking a serious look at this issue. For years, we've been seeing seniors who move out of Athens and move away from Athens over housing issues, and and things like that. And so that was one of the primary concerns that got this moving. But then the AERP umbrella that they put this in, the framework that they've given us is really great. So, and we're all aging. Just to remind you of that. We're not just talking about old people.
It beats the alternative.
Only on the outside, Paul.
Today's 45-year-olds are 60-years-olds in 15 years. So I know how it works too.
And we did have Austin join us a few minutes ago. Welcome, Austin. So I think we do have a full commission present now, which is great. Any other discussion on the age-friendly community? If not, we will move on to topic B, which is the commission intern. We were contacted by Lorraine McCosker at the Voinovich School. One of her jobs is to pair particularly honors program students, but I think maybe some of the other Voinovich students as well, up with intern projects and organizations that may be in need of interns. I actually, for Defenders of Wildlife, the organization I work for, had 2 of her interns last year who helped me with some projects. And she has, I think, at least 1, maybe 2 people interested this year in seeing if they can help with some commission priorities, including the Hocking River, and perhaps starting to think about how we might better manage the Hocking River. I had actually suggested to her, based on Jasmine's presentation, that we might want to try to update that 2005 opinion survey about the river. But it sounds like having students do a survey is a longer, they need to get an approval and have a protocol and work with a particular professor who knows how to do those social science type things. So that might be something for down the line. But they are particularly interested in looking at the original Army Corps document and maybe comparing our management to other rivers. Like I know Jasmine had mentioned the Sacramento River, and doing a project like that. And she also, I think Lorraine also mentioned that she might have somebody who's interested in moving forward on the B campus / B city. So Abby, that's something to be aware of.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe we didn't really plot out an exact course of action, but I guess maybe what we should do is try to get back to Lorraine as soon as possible, because these students are trying to get these projects. It's a little bit, to have an intern is a little bit of a, it's some work, because you want to meet with them. And I think I met with my interns last year almost weekly to kind of check their progress and make sure that they were doing something, that they understood what they were supposed to be doing, and that sort of thing. So I think it would require somebody or a couple of people from the commission to sort of say, yes, I can, help this person shepherd a project through. Jasmine.
Lorraine did contact me already about, she didn't mention anything about interns, but I thought it was for a class or 2 classes maybe. Is that something separate, or?
Yeah, I think it's the same. And now somebody from the university correct me if I have this wrong, but I think the honors students have to do a sort of, it's a credit-based thing, but it's a requirement that they have to get some sort of real-world experience working with an organization on. It's like a consultancy, but okay. Internship is sort of the term that gets used.
Okay.
Is this with undergrad or graduate students?
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I took her class in graduate school, and it's exactly that you do.
Okay.
She connects you to the community. Doing certain projects with people that are willing to take you on, and then in exchange, as a student, you complete your class.
Yeah.
Abby and I think we were all in the same program.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Yeah. So as an example, last year I had one student that looked at a bunch of national wildlife refuges, particularly ones on the coast, and looked at whether they were planning for sea level rise and other climate change impacts. And I had another who was looking at endangered species recovery plans and plan amendments, and whether they were accounting for climate change. So that's the kinds of projects.
Cool. Well, that's helpful, because she had told me to prepare something, I think just an overview on the Hocking for her class for sometime next week. And then I think we were just sort of going to go from there and let it organically evolve into whatever the students think the next step should be. But I do think a survey will need some sort of probably IRB.
Yes, that was exactly the acronym she used. And it was that internal review board.
Yeah, I didn't have to do one. I didn't use human subjects at all. But she can figure that part out.
Yeah, so that's the kind of thing that we might try to plan for a later semester's, spring or next fall kind of project. But I think, so she has maybe a student who's interested in, looking at some of the comparative river management type things.
Awesome.
Can you reach back out to Lorraine?
Yeah, I'm already set to talk to her class, I guess, sometime next week. She's just going to let me know.
So, Jasmine, there wasn't one of your recommendations from your presentation about trying to get some rallies, some education and support in the city so that we can get people to, increasingly support and push for this kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think that was sort of where the survey was going to maybe start that process of figuring out where people were at right now, and then from there see what kind of education might need to be done. I think the survey was sort of the first step in that process of rallying people. Yeah. But I think a lot of people may already be there. We just need to organize.
I mean, if there's any education or awareness we could do ahead of that we ought to consider that. I'm pretty excited about that project.
Yeah. I'm not sure how. I don't know. Maybe a video. I'm not sure of the best way to disseminate information out into the public.
These comparisons to other communities that have taken some initiatives to create some more habitat around the river and still deal with the intent of trying to maintain flood control. But if there's,
I'll send you guys, there's an hour-long video. It's a documentary. I think I mentioned it on the San Antonio River Project. And you don't have to watch it, but if you have time and you're interested, if that's sort of your thing, it sort of goes through the history of what they did and, you can make comparisons maybe. So. Right.
Thanks. And Abby,
that plays into our biodiversity thing too.
Yeah, very much so. Abby, you said Lorraine, right? You were in her program as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you want to contact her about B City B Campus stuff if you've got use for somebody? Fabulous. Yeah. And the other thing that I think Lorraine mentioned just as a possibility, Stefan, would be chimney swifts. If there's anything that we might have a student do regarding chimney swifts. So you might want to give that a little thought, or if it's something that doesn't work for this semester, we can maybe think about a potential project for next semester or beyond.
Yeah, I think her class, I don't know if it has to be in conjunction with her class, but I think it just runs in the fall, just so you know.
Okay. Good to know. Thanks. Paul or Sam, it looks like you both had. Sam, you're off mute. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to double check. I was sending you all an email, and I tuned out for a second there. The idea is to have a student involved in the B campus. Is that what you're saying? B campus and B city?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a possibility. Lorraine specifically reached out to me to see if we wanted to have a student work on that, and we had to work on it in the spring. And then I basically told Lorraine that I was just going to do it this fall because I didn't want to wait for another semester. And I had enough of a basis that the student had done in the spring not to have it be a whole other project for another student. So just FYI.
Well, maybe Abby and Sam, you guys could get together offline and decide if there's something that's a set project that somebody could do, and then we could propose that. You guys can just propose that to Lorraine. This isn't, I think, necessarily as much of a commission thing, but it's just there's a lot of individual potential projects that group of students can potentially help with. Agreed. Okay, so being mindful of time, we have 2 issues left, one of which is very quick, but one maybe a few more minutes. So backyard chickens. There was some interest last at the last meeting. I think Jasmine relayed an anecdote about somebody who was essentially got some chickens and then had to get rid of them. And that got us thinking a little bit about, what our history is with chickens in Athens. They're potentially, a good local, sustainable, inexpensive food source. And Sarah has actually done some review of ordinances that she can share with us.
Yeah, I circulated a zoning review just to kind of give us a basis for what ordinances do apply to backyard chicken use. And, I thought that would be a good starting point to understand what kind of improvements need to be made to our code if we are, in fact, hoping to provide backyard chicken opportunities for residents. I also looked into some comparably sized cities or cities with similar demographics to Athens. I started with a review of 3: Oxford, Ohio, Kent, Ohio, and then also Grand Rapids, Michigan. I thought they were a good representative sample of communities that have basic rules, I guess you could say, and then some that have a little bit more in-depth processes to monitor and permit chickens. So let's kind of start on that examination. And I actually went and had a conversation with Paul Weil, our former mayor, to remind myself and to get his perspective on the issue when it was brought to council in 2010 and, up through that time. And, he gave me some excellent, insight and thoughts on some of the challenges facing a community that want backyard chickens. I don't think we have time today to go into all the details, to be honest, but I do think that if this is an issue that our commission feels like we want to pursue, I think there's a good pathway ahead in terms of common sense legislation. I would like to know, this is kind of my personal, based on the review I did, I'd like to know how other communities fare with the policies that they have, too onerous for people to actually, take up a backyard chicken coop, or are they too lax? And, are there a lot of violations? And, zoning appeals are constantly, reviewing cases of negligent chicken owners. How many people do them? How often is there an issue, or, what are the benefits of doing it? So to me, those are all the kind of questions that we need to ask. And then I also think we need to, survey our current council members and find out what their constituents are asking of them. Have they heard from people who are really interested in pursuing backyard chickens, and what do they need? And so those discussions need to happen as well. I guess I propose, just again, short on time here, I propose that if anybody does want to get involved, I certainly don't need to lead this. This was just sort of Sarah's brain dump on what needs to happen here. But I'd love to see where we can take this and, maybe have it as sort of a fall winter project to do the homework that's needed, because I know we're going to be asked 1,000 questions. Yeah. If we want to propose a recommendation, it needs to be robust enough that we've thought about all the options behind it.
Thanks, Sarah. And actually, I wonder, this would be up to you. Would you want to reach out to Lorraine and with that idea of a research project and see if she has any potential interns who might be interested in taking that on?
I would. Lorraine has reached out to me in my role with Rural Action also regarding it. And so I have that conduit as well. But I guess I would want to make sure that I could have the bandwidth to work with that person. Yeah. And I know we're all pretty busy people. So I realize asking the commission to participate, I don't want to leave this alone, though. I have to say, I'd love this to be a group effort. So, but in the event that it can't be because everyone is busy, maybe intern is the next best thing.
It just looks like from your review Athens is just super restricted to the point where you can't do it. But
exactly, our setback
on one or two things, it wouldn't. I mean, it was a pretty good little run you did on that. Appreciate you doing that, and it wouldn't. I don't think it would take much to figure out, a route forward.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like, find out what some of these other communities who are doing its experiences, and then, because like if Oxford's doing it, I imagine they're a little more restrictive about what goes on in their town. Or
they
not
have a more robust enforcement department too. You have to think about, like, if you do have a policy, it does have to be enforced. And if code enforcement here in the city is not willing or able to, check on enclosures, make sure that there's no violations.
There's other types of livestock in this town going on.
Have fun.
All sorts of things going on in this town.
Like what, Ed?
Well, what is it? Goats? Goats.
And there's some people with horses, but they have big properties.
Bees.
Well, if we really want to get into this, there is language related to harboring, or just animals in general that you can, where is it?
Rabbits.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's something, I guess I do want to ask this quick question of everyone. And I know, Sam, you wanted to say a thing, so you should definitely do that. But quick question, do we only want to focus on chickens, or do we want to include in this, small livestock? Because inevitably at some point somebody may say, well, I don't want to keep chickens, but I'm thinking about, a donkey. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll just say that I really appreciated the work that you did, Sarah, and I looked at all that, and then, I think I'm becoming a government geek or something. I looked into I watched the old 2010 Mayor Weil meetings, both City Council and the Planning Commission, and I hear from constituents that are pro-chicken, and I'm pro-chicken for the reasons that people want to be pro-chicken. I understand some of the, I'm sure Paul Weil told you about some of the issues that they had, but I really just wanted to say, and Paul Logue may be able to sort of say something here, is that we can put all the information together and have a really good presentation and have all the things crossed off and dotted, et cetera, which I believe Kent Butler did a pretty good job when he introduced this ordinance back in 2010. But then it wasn't up to City Council. It went to the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission basically said, we're not going to change the 100-foot requirement from the property line. So that was it. There was the Mayor Weil was on that. He was on the Planning Commission, as Mayor Patterson is. It's sort of, we have to think strategically, I think, about the people we need to have a conversation with. It seemed to me that City Council was ready to say yes, but the Planning Commission said no. Is that accurate, Paul? What do you think?
I don't think the Planning Commission ever officially did a review. They had discussions of it, but again, it's been 10 years, so my mind's kind of cloudy on a lot of things from 10 years ago. If City Council sends specific legislation to the Planning Commission, the Planning Commission has to review it and make a recommendation within, I believe, 60 days, or they can extend it to 90 days if they want to have a public hearing. They have to give something up to the City Council. If they recommend something different than what City Council asks them to review, City Council can accept the Planning Commission's recommendation as submitted to them with a simple majority of the council, or City Council can change that recommendation with a supermajority. And I'm not sure if that's where it got in, where there wasn't a supermajority, but I don't believe City Council ever officially went through the process, which is designated in Chapter 2309 of formally saying this is the code that we want added to the zoning code, or this is what we want changed. Please review that and give us comment. I think it was kind of, I think there's conversations about of what they wanted, but nothing ever formal advanced. And I'm not sure why that was. It got incredibly heated really quick. Lots of people showing up at planning commission meetings and city council meetings. you should expect if that's going to happen with the Sustainability Commission as well, if they move forward with it, would be my guess. And that is important to note that my recommendation, I think I have two to the Sustainability Commission. If, keep in mind the charge is sustainability. So unless you can make a case for goats and other animals or livestock as being in a framework of sustainability, I would keep it very clean to chickens if you think chickens, if there's a sustainability angle there. And also definitely you would want to somehow communicate some of this to the Planning Commission. Because if the Planning Commission doesn't have any interest in moving forward with it, and if, there's ultimately going to be a legislative process, so make sure that, do your best to make sure that there's some support for it. And I don't know where the Planning Commission would stand on it today. There's 5 members. You would need three members would need to vote to recommend something up to council.
Thanks, Paul. That's all really good advice.
Is there anyone among our commission that does want to engage here and be involved going forward? Just so I'm aware and I'm not bugging everybody about it.
I'd like to help out. I really appreciate all the work that you did. I know I brought it forward, but you ran with it, and I really appreciate you doing that. I was able to look at what you put together just recently. I think I added notes earlier today, and I don't know if you were able to look at them yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks great. And I don't know, is this something where we need, again, some sort of community survey to see where the community stands on this, so that when we're ready to bring something forward to the Planning Commission, we have something to back it up that says that this is something that's wanted or needed, or if it's not wanted or needed, maybe it's something we should drop. What do you guys think about that? I don't know how to move forward with it either if we were to put a survey together.
I'm curious, Paul, was that ever included in any of your comprehensive planning surveys? Was it ever even like when people sticky noted, I'd like to see chickens? Like, do you have anything from those notes?
There's definitely no consensus on it. It wouldn't be surprised if a couple people mentioned it. In the comprehensive planning. I know a few people mentioned it. Well, I shouldn't say I know, but my recollection is that it was at least mentioned by people who participated in the sustainability planning process several years ago. There, like Jasmine, like you said, there are people who wanted to have chickens for the 12 years I've been in Athens and have been frustrated that they cannot based on the requirements. There's a lot of people that don't want to have them either. There's definitely no consensus on it. So I'm not sure how much opposition there is. It is 10 years later, so maybe people are more open-minded to it today than they were back then.
What are the timelines usually for making changes like this? Because like chickens are going to be hatching in the spring, I'm thinking, and people are going to need food next year, just like they need food this year. So do you think that that's something that we could have done by March?
There's two things to keep in mind, and I think Sam knows a little bit more about it, but any legislation that's in process, I'm not sure what happens to it on January 1, whether it's not an election year, so I imagine it would carry forward from one year to the next as long as it's the same council convening. Is that correct, Sam?
I thought we tried to wrap everything up by the calendar year. So okay. You're right that it might be an election year thing, but I thought that we started afresh in January.
Okay.
Find out more about that. It's good.
Yeah, I can find out for sure.
So that's one thing to consider. If the legislation either dies at the end of this year, then it's a question of expediency of moving it forward, doing it this year or starting fresh in 2021. Wow, 2021. The Planning Commission, they have specific timelines that they would, once a formal recommendation or request is brought to them, and again, it's in code what's required for the Planning Commission to review it. If council or a citizen moves forward with something as a petition, they have to at least review it within 60 days, or if they think it needs a public hearing, they can extend that to 90 days. I think they can extend beyond that if they notify city council that they need more time for some reason. Once it goes to city council, it needs a 30-day notice of a public hearing, 3 readings, and then an opportunity for the mayor to veto. So you're looking on, generally you should be budgeting for 4.5, 5 months roughly.
Okay.
From once it gets to the planning commission.
Okay.
Now, I can say if it's not a controversial issue, such as solar panel changes, that the planning commission discussed that in one meeting, and then 2 weeks later they made a motion and a second and voted it up to city council. So things that are, again, it's always a question of what people are concerned about and how big of an issue it appears to be.
Maybe people have evolved in 10 years and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
People remember not being able to find anything at the grocery store last March.
Yeah, exactly. Times are changing fast,
Yeah.
so I'm going to stay optimistic.
I'm willing to do the, back end. I think we really should just make sure we do our homework so that we do have a, common sense strategy. To me, that's the end goal. You can't just say, well, people want chickens, let's just have chickens. It does have to be really well considered. So I think that's the approach we'll take, and hopefully council will find a path that works for folks. So.
All right. So does anybody else have any items of new business that I don't think we'll have time to discuss tonight, but we can at least shout them out and then they'll get in the minutes and then we might remember to talk about them next month as new business?
I can mention, go ahead, Sam.
I was just going to make an announcement, and that is that Austin and Stefan's terms on the commission are expiring, and they both have agreed to stay with us, and we're very happy about that. And that at City Council on Tuesday night.
Great.
And I don't know, Sam, you're the advisor of Yvette on Heimbo. She is looking to work on multi-unit housing. And similar, I'm looking at that
recycling,
yeah. Similarly to what Jasmine did with the Hocking River Conservancy thing, to look at that issue and best practices, policy, what's been other community, look at the best practices in our community if any exist, and then elsewhere, and maybe come up with some policy kind of things around it. So I'm hoping that could materialize into something really good.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm hopeful on that too, Ed. And I'm meeting with her on Tuesday, and I'll know more. And definitely, she and I should try to get this, really moving forward.
I've been nudging her, and I'm connecting with Bruce. I'm connecting her with Bruce and Code and so forth.
Cool. All right, great. I just have one quick announcement, which is the Wayne National Forest had their planning update call today. It was a pretty brief call. They just essentially let us know that, you may recall the final assessment came out in mid to late July. They were, I think, planning at that point to move quickly to developing their need to change and on through the rest of the planning process. But they decided at the behest of the forest supervisor and regional forester that they really need to kind of take a step back, look really carefully at all of the feedback that they got on the assessment, look at what the assessment was saying, and really spend a little bit more time carefully developing their need to change statement, which is the next part of that process. So it sounds like the whole forest planning process is going to be delayed by at least a few more months. So they're essentially slowing down. Does anyone else have any other announcements or updates? Hearing none, can we get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
Okay, thanks. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. I won't probably talk to you next month, but thanks again to the students for being here tonight. And if you had anything else to chat about, I think we'll preserve that chat and get back to you through Dr. Lynch's class. Thanks all.